Hey Sharilyn, what are we up to today?
Hey Tabatha. Today we are talking about Bestie Swap number 2 and the 3 books you made me read.
Yes, let's do it!
Cheers, besties!
So yeah, you've already read these because
That's how it happened.
that's just how it
That's
happened.
how the cookie crumbled.
Starting next episode, we have filmed the intros already for the next 2 episodes actually. And we've filmed the intros and then we're already starting to read those books. Actually, I haven't started at all.
Neither have I.
Cool. But from next episode on, we won't know the books in the intro and there's like a fun little finding out what those books are.
Surprise!
So, but this one's not a surprise.
Yeah, no surprises here except, how the actual stories went because they're new books.
Yeah. So to get into the books and why I chose them for you.
That's right, you should have the stack.
The first book I chose for you was Pictures of You because I believe you liked 13 Going on 30 as the movie.
Yeah, it's a really sweet movie.
And this gave me a lot of vibes like that, and I had also just read it and loved it so much. So I needed you to read it, is basically why I gave this to you.
Enough said.
And then the next book was Tainted Cup, and we've been looking at this in the store forever. She likes murder mysteries a lot.
Yes.
Something, if you are not new to the channel, that you already know. And if you are new to the channel, she likes murder. She loves them.
Love mystery. I was gonna say I love murder. I don't love murder.
Do.
I love solving murders, ma'am.
Do.
This is on the internet. But yes, I love a good murder mystery. Love a good solving the mystery.
She does. So, this one.
Yes, this one.
And she's been getting really, really into her fantasy era. So, that was a perfect one. Yes. Next, Blood Over Brighthaven. I chose this because, 1, you were already interested in it. 2, I just read it and needed you to read it. And 3, the magic system reminded me so much of Full Metal Alchemist because alchemy. And she loves Full Metal Alchemist. And then also the character relationships. Everything about this book was perfection. So I was like, I had to give you this one.
Perfect.
Do you want to go in order from like least favorite to favorite?
I was gonna go in order that I read them, which is also that order.
Oh, perfect.
Tabatha had predicted
Yes.
what my least favorite to most favorite would be. So I read them in that order and she was correct. So first off, I read Pictures of You. And it was so good. It was so good. You should read it. Enough said. No, homegirl wakes up in the hospital, amnesia. Turns out her amnesia wiped out like the last 10 years or something. So her brain is basically 16 years old. That's where she's stuck. But she's actually in her 20s.
I think she's in her 30s, actually.
She's in her 30s?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, the amnesia wiped out years of her memory. And she's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on and how did she end up in a place that her 16-year-old self did not, predict or plan for. She's like, what is my life right now?
And, her mom, her friends, nobody's in her contacts.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any of them in her phone anymore. So she's like, what the hell?
Yeah, her life is just completely nowhere like her 16-year-old self expected her to be. And she has a lot of questions. In the car accident that caused her amnesia, her husband died. So she's already over here like, oh, well, my husband's dead. This husband that I don't remember and have no feelings for is dead. And now I have to just figure out how did we get here? So it's a dual timeline. You're filling in her memories as she also tries to figure out herself. And it is so good. It's a really good exploration into relationships and lots of different relationship dynamics. Lots of, I don't know why I'm telling you when you've read it, I'm telling y'all because you haven't read it, or maybe you have, but there are definitely a lot of triggers to be aware of. I don't think any of it goes too deep that it nothing set me off essentially, but there were things where it was like, oh, I feel for her so hard. So it was a really good book, especially as a woman and a woman who has lived life to read. So if you are a woman or if you're a human who's lived life, a lot of us, there's so many, that sounds stupid, I know. No, there's a lot that's relatable. There's a lot that I looked back on, a lot of things that I've been through and was like, there were a lot of parallels. Just you go through life, shit happens, and so much of what's in this book, just even if it wasn't an exact parallel, it's still, the memories came back, there were ties to life, and kind of being able to look back on, as an adult, look back on your younger self and just kind of like feel for your younger self. That's always just like a really like special, gentle, healing moment. So yeah, there was a lot in this book that was just really good.
I also loved the messages around like forgiveness.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good forgiveness that happened in this book, and things that were not forgiven and couldn't be forgiven. So on both sides of that, I think were really great. Yeah, boundaries was definitely a good talking point in there as well.
Yeah. So definitely a good work of art right here. Yay. So I think I might have given it like 4.5 stars.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw.
Yeah. So fantastic read. And that was like the least favorite, and it was still that good. So definitely still a favorite.
Successful swap.
Yes! Careful, we have 2 more books to go.
You said that was your least favorite, so...
All right, book number 2 was Blood Over Brighthaven. And I loved this book so much. It was so unique to me. I haven't read a whole lot of fantasy, so I don't know how it measures up in the fantasy world.
It's a very unique story.
Okay, cool. So it was very unique. It centered around a woman who was the first female mage in history, and that clearly is already a really big deal. But she is brilliant. I can't tell y'all a whole lot because there's a reason, but oh my gosh. It, again, because human relationships and the human experience is what it is, there are, again, lots of parallels, lots of relatable points, even when it's fantasy, like still just humans being humans. There's a lot to relate to. And,
and to give you more perspective on like her and her situation, like once she becomes that first female mage, she gets ostracized a lot within that community. Then there's like someone, like a rival or something, who's like, oh, I'm gonna make your life even worse by giving you this person as an assistant who's like even worse than you. Yeah. And so she has that level where she's also ostracized, but this person is even it's even worse for this person. So that's very, very interesting as well. Yeah. So definitely seeing, lots of relationship dynamics, positive and negative. And then the magic system is so cool. Too. Oh, it's so cool. It's so unique. I haven't even considered something like that before. Yeah. Yes. The world building is fantastic. It's all done very naturally. The setting is very cool. Industrial like more city that's in the center of like a wasteland. Yeah. And then nobody goes outside, and people have there's this blight in the world. Yeah, it's like killing the people who live outside the city, and so a lot of them try to make it to the city to survive because they're dying off out there. So yeah, that's a really big problem. So yeah, the people who live out in the wasteland who are able to make it into the city are the ostracized people. So like they're very bottom of the totem pole, and then women, and then men of the people who the chosen or whatever who are from the city itself. Yeah. So there's a lot of hierarchy and all of the things that come with that, but so much good. And such a powerful, impactful ending as well. Yes, I was crying. I cried at the ending. I mean, everyone should. I cried. If you have a heart. If you have a heart. Legit, yeah. It was, I also love that it's a standalone. We don't get a whole lot of standalones, so. Yeah. We do a lot of series to ourselves, and reading a standalone, and like finishing a book and finishing a story at the same time. I was like, oh, this feels nice. Yeah. We should do that more often. I say as I go into this next book, which is the start of a series. So also, I think I gave Blood Over Brighthaven either high 4 or 5. 5 stars all the way over here. Yeah, something like that. Tainted Cup. Oh my goodness. I love this book so much. Yes. Very likely, probably just found a new favorite author, Robert Jackson Bennett, and planning to read more of his stuff now. But this right here, a fantasy murder mystery, that's kind of like the setting of Attack on Titan meets the quirky characters and the relationship dynamics of Sherlock. So it's just spectacular all around. The world building is very unique. The stuff going on in the world, they are in the Empire. They are on the edge of the Empire, essentially on the coast. And
They are dealing with the threat of leviathans who come out of the ocean and wreak havoc.
But that's way in the background.
That's just kind of, that's constantly mentioned in here. That's just a looming threat the entire time. That's just part of the experience living on this part of the empire. So there's that. However, that set aside, the book starts with a murder, and clearly the whole book is solving that. And there are so many elements being introduced along the way, and of course the mystery builds, and you just get deeper into it and you're like, what the fuck is happening? Who even? Like, oh, it's so good. And the characters, I love the characters. It's first person, and you're following a character who is the assistant to the investigator. So it'd be like Sherlock being told from Watson's perspective, like that idea. His name is Denius Cole. He goes by Din most of the time. This one I read most recently, so it's the freshest in my mind, so I have so much to say. But no, I love him as a character. He's so unique. There are also lots of unique skills. I don't know if I would really call them powers, but lots of unique skills, lots of unique characteristics. It's almost got like a sci-fi element to it, or a sci-fantasy element to it, just because of the level of like science-based elements within this book. And yes, there was a lot of like augmentation to characters. So it is kind of magic-based or science-based, but there are lots of categories, I guess, of augmented peoples. It sounds weird, but it's so cool.
Yeah, and his specific power, which goes really well to investigating, is that he can like record details. How does it work again?
He can engrave memories into his... He basically just remembers everything. Like, that's his augmentation, is he's an engraver, so...
But he also can't read. He
can't read to save his life. He literally, like, I think he's dyslexic, or, like, the way it's described sounds kind of like dyslexia, but poor guy, can't read, and it comes up throughout, and it's very interesting to see how that's dealt with and how he works around it. But yeah, he can't read. But he can essentially, he remembers everything in general, but also he carries an engraver's kit with him, which has a bunch of vials of different like smelling things. And so he can tie memories to a scent to make it that much more potent, essentially. So he can like, smell the thing and like remember even more. So he'll do that like on the crime scene to make sure he engraves all the details extra well. But it's such a cool system of people's skills in this book. And again, just not something I would consider. Also, this book read so easily. Like, despite the amount of... All of the names are weird. There is not a normal name in this, except Anna. There is not a normal name in this book. There was a lot of weird going on. But it was so easy to read and digest, which is very special to have such a strange story. But it's still easy to follow along and keep up with and just devour.
And I will say the world building, very natural. Yes. Very good. It's all in the moment. So if you're learning about plants, you're actually like, they're actually examining plants and stuff. It's all very, very natural, very normal. It's not, there's no info dumping or anything like that. It's all baked into the story really well.
Yes. Yes. So very well written, very unique, interesting story.
Love the setting. So excited to see where it goes.
Yes. So excited for book 2, which comes out March 31st. Yeah, it was fantastic. 5 stars without even thinking about it. It was amazing. And yes, I think I found a new favorite genre of fantasy mystery, and I can't wait to read more of that this year. So, that was our first part 2 of the second, whatever you want to call it.
Episode 2!
Yes, so thank you, Tabatha, for so many phenomenal reads. I just added like 3 favorites to my read books. So, yay! So stay tuned for incoming bestie swaps. We have lots of good books we're excited to read that we have thrust upon each other.
Yes. Let us know if you guys have read any of these.
Yes.
And what you think.
And if you're not feeling chatty, leave us a little mushroom emoji. I'm not going to tell you why, but leave us a little mushroom emoji just to let us know you're hanging out.
It relates to one of the books.
Yes, it might have something to do. It does have something to do with one of the books. All right.
Cool.
Cheers, besties.